Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey always reigns supreme. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, let's drop the puck and get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is Sunday, September 15th, 2024. Coming to you live from Floored Media right here in Rockville Center. Shaking off the rust a little bit, dusting off the shoulders, getting back in action here at Hockey Night in New York. So glad to be back talking Islander hockey. My name is Sean Cuthbert. With me, as always, is Mr. Stefen Rosner. Stefen, how we doing, pal?
Nothing happened this summer. There is nothing
Zero.
to talk about. I should just get up and leave right now.
Yeah, just call it. It's all over. No, folks, we got a big show coming up for you tonight. Brian Compton of NHL.com will be joining us. Looking forward to that, talking to our old pal. But before we dive into it, I want to tell you all about our wonderful sponsors, starting with Main Street Board Game Cafe. Find your crowd and unplug your game at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village. Also proud to be sponsored by the brand new Center Station Bar and Grill. Catch every Isles game with great food and drinks at 279A Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center all season long. And for folks, those of you that are hanging out with us here in the chat, whether it's Twitch, whether it's YouTube, just put Questions Brewing before any questions you might have, and then we'll answer your questions later in the Questions Brewing segment. And now, starting with a brand new segment, that is Experience Points, presented by Main Street Board Game Cafe, where we make our points about the Islanders' experience in the games leading up into the episode. Now, of course, there were no games leading up to this, but we still have some experience points to dole out for the New York Islanders. We got a summer to talk about. We got rookie camp to talk about. We're going to look ahead at training camp. Lots and lots of stuff to chat about tonight. Stefen, what's going on, man?
We got some housekeeping things to take care of.
Yeah.
I guess the biggest talk of the summer was what's wrong with Sorokin.
Right.
Lemmerlo put that to rest. Upper body injury, suffered during off-season workouts. He may miss the first day or two of training camp. Beyond that, they think he's okay. So we'll have to see. I know he did play Frisbee at Anders Lee's Cam Jam event.
Okay, Frisbee.
I don't know what his back looks like or whatever the case may be, what he's going through, but I think he'll be okay.
Was he doing well blocking the Frisbee from entering the can?
I don't know if he played Frisbee correctly, but he is at least healthy. He's out there. If he was hurt enough, he wouldn't have been out there.
He was also at the Matt Martin Foundation poker tournament. That's
he was. He sat in a chair for a very long time.
Yeah,
so
it's hard to do that.
I don't know if he won in poker either, but
I don't think he did.
Like I said, I think he's okay. That's the concern. Year one of an 8-year deal. You want your goalie to be good, and also it's a long-term investment. So if he is hurt, if it takes a couple of days for him to get right, get on the ice, that's completely okay.
Well, look, not only is that a concern now, but obviously everybody remembers the season that he had last year. And, maybe people were wondering, was he hurt? Or was it just a mental thing? Or whatever it was. Like you said, you need your number one starting goalie, 8-year contract goalie to be performing well. So obviously a big focus this season is going to be him bouncing back, right? So not off to a great start with the fact that it seems like he's battling something, but it sounds like he's going to be back even if he misses the first couple of days of training camp.
Yeah, so if training camp day one comes and Sorokin's not on the ice, people could just take a breath, relax. They won't. Convert oxygen to carbon dioxide. You'll be okay.
Okay.
Other news. I see that was a little science there, right?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, you're great.
3 players are coming to camp on PTOs. You have Matt Martin. So, again, not a guaranteed contract. Cal Clutterbuck is not coming to camp. So, it seems like as of now, his time with the Islanders is done. Stick Taps, he had a great career with them. So, you have Matt Martin, Artem Kudashov, a 19-year-old defenseman out of the KHL, 2 seasons there. He's on a PTO, and 35-year-old veteran goaltender, Long Island native Keith Kincaid.
Wow, didn't see that
and
coming.
He is at rookie camp with Kudashov. He is definitely the oldest guy at rookie camp by
not so much a rookie.
10 years.
Yeah.
So he's
enjoying
enjoying
they just needed
it.
the goaltending.
They need the goaltending Long Island guy, favor there. So that's the big news to, back from summer break. Those are the things to know for right now.
Okay, and we can do a quick refresh, just the summer that they had. Obviously, the last show we did was with Neil Smith. That was like July 7th. So it was fresh off of Duclair being signed, Siplikov coming in. But overall, how did the Islanders do this summer?
For a team that was lacking cap space, I think they did all right. They get a speedy forward at a discount. He took less to come here. It's also the longest contract of his career, 4-year deal, but they needed speed in their top 6. Whether he plays with Barzal or Horvat or plays with Nelson and Palmieri, that's speed in your top 6. He knows how to score goals. Smart player. Siplikov, low risk, high reward move. This is a guy that's on a 1-year ELC. after this year, if he has a great year, he's still an RFA, so they don't have to pay him the world.
Right.
And it's a guy that scored 31 goals in a breakout year in the KHL, his 5th year in the league, 25 years old, big body, has a lot of talent. We'll get to his shot and a couple of stuff later, but this guy could be a really big piece to what the Islanders do this year.
Well, let's key in on him because you got to see him at rookie camp here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've seen, what you like from him so far? Obviously, it's extremely early. It's with the rookies. Yeah. We don't know what he's going to do yet, but what do you like so far? Yeah,
the biggest thing is he's physically mature to play in the NHL. Rick Kowalski, Bridgeport's head coach who runs rookie camp, that was the first thing he said. Compared to all the other guys, 19, 20-year-olds, this guy's a unit. So he's bodying players the whole entire time. But what he's really good at is protecting the puck and getting that sneaky shot off. His strides look great. They haven't done a lot of full sprinting skates, but he can move. He's shifty. He cuts the net. And his shot's elite. I was trying to show on Twitter or X, whatever the kids call it, that he's sniping from everywhere. Wherever the drill's happening, he's finding ways to beat the goalies,
shoot the puck,
posting in, crossbarring in.
Yeah.
And I talked to a lot of the young guys too. And, Maggio, Kudasha, all these guys, and they said he's just a big body. We're learning how to defend against these guys. It helps them out for sure. And for him, he's getting his feet wet. He's never played in North America before. He's been around summer training, but getting into a groove where it's regimented stuff. You're on the ice with the team. You're practicing. That's so huge. And again, I wanted to get more of an inside look of how good his shot was. So I asked Keith Kincaid about what it's like to face Sipakov.
Yeah, he's a sniper from what I've seen. He could put it in, short side angles. He's got a rip of a shot too. So, and he's got great hands. So, just from what I've seen out there from him, skating over the summer with him, and he looks like a great piece for them.
What I will add is Sorokin and Romanov played a part in him coming here, but also former Islander Shane Prince played a huge part in this because they played on the same line with Spartak in the KHL, and after the season ended, they went out and talked, and Prince said, great organization, you're going to love it there. He met with Romanov and Romanov's wife in Moscow, and then he comes here. His English isn't great. He's practicing with a tutor, but he has Sorokin, Varlamov, and Romanov to help him get through it. So, again, we have to see how he looks with the other NHLers.
Sure.
But right now, you want to see a guy like that go and dominate a rookie camp, and right now that's what he's doing.
No, that's encouraging. I'm looking forward to seeing him during the main camp, see how he acclimates himself. Had a chance to speak to Brock Nelson a little bit at the poker tournament. I was asking him about if he had a chance to meet Duclair and Sipakov. He said, yeah. He said they both seem like great guys. In fact, he already heard great things about Duclair just from friends of his that were teammates of his. So all positive things so far, and I'm definitely ready to go to see training camp happen. One name I want to bring up just because it's the name that doesn't go away. Obviously, Oliver Wahlstrom is re-signed. Right. Does this guy have a shot this year? There's just too many bodies in front of him.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. You thought the Islanders, this would be the summer they moved him. Obviously, his value is not where they would hope it would be, and it's possible that they got calls for him, and it just wasn't where they wanted to be. Lou said at the draft that he's going to get tendered a qualifying offer. This is before it went, he filed for arbitration, things like that, but he's going to get a tender a qualifying offer. We're going to try to move him to give him an opportunity. That's what Lou said. And that's coming from Lou. He was openly honest about it. If there's an opportunity elsewhere to get him minutes to play, they're going to help him and try to get that done. It hasn't happened yet. Doesn't mean it won't happen. Doesn't mean waiver won't be a possibility. But right now, with him on the NHL roster, they're over the cap. So no one should be counting him against the cap because he's probably not going to make the team. That being said, he's going to get an opportunity like Martin. Right. Go and fight for that final forward spot. There's an opening. There's a fourth line right wing opening. So there's a bunch of guys, and we'll get to it a little bit later, fighting for that one spot. Ultimately, I wish Wahlstrom the best. I hope he goes to a team and is able to play, and he's been hurt. It's even with Anders Lee, it took him about 3 years after the ACL injury to finally feel like himself. I spoke with Wahlstrom back in March when we were in Florida, and he said his knee finally started to feel right, get that pop in it that he had a couple years ago. So It's tough for a young player. He's been through 3 or 4 coaches at this point. It's tough. I don't think he makes the team, but he's going to get an opportunity to fight.
Okay, that's fair. So you said that the Islanders had an all right offseason. How many experience points do you give the Islanders for this summer?
I would say 45.
45,
yeah.
That's solid. Okay, fair. Did they level up?
I would say they leveled up for sure.
Leveled up,
because not that they got rid of dead weight, because that's offensive, and I'm not being offensive at all. But they, with the slower players that they had, they added speed element. I think bringing Mike Riley back. First off, I thought Mike Riley was one of the best pickups of the entire season last year with any team. Given his impact, and then when Watt came, you clearly saw that he is Letty. He's best friends with Letty in real life, but he is Letty. He's the transition the Islanders didn't have. To get him back on a 1-year deal at a minimal cap hit, 1.25. is huge because he's going to be relied upon heavily in this year. And I think, at first when Watt came in, he said they're going to rotate D, Aho, Bolduc, Riley. They'll all take turns. Riley stole the job. took off, got the contract back. And I think him being back, the confidence he has now, whether it's him quarterbacking the second power play unit or the top unit, or being on a pair where it helps Scott Mayfield ease back into things, I think him being back is so vital.
All right, 41 for you. I'm gonna go with 52. 52 experience points, level up. I think Siplikov is going to be a pleasant surprise. We're all waiting to see how his game from the KHL translate to the NHL. I'm feeling good about it. So that'll do it for Experience Points, presented by Main Street Board Game Cafe. Unplug your game and raise your experience at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village with food, drinks, fun, and friends. And with that, we are going to break for On the Line. Brian Compton from NHL.com will be joining us. We'll be right back.
Islanders fans, Sunday night is hockey night in New York. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, tune in to Hockey Night in New York. Catch us live from Floored Media in Rockville Center, Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, as we cover all things Islanders at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. All episodes are also available on YouTube and all your favorite podcast providers. And for all you social butterflies, you can follow at Hockey Night NY on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for all the latest updates. Hockey Night in New York, the best night of the week for any Islanders fan.
Attention all artists, storytellers, and creators of all kinds. It's time to make your content stand out above the rest. And Floored Media is the place to make your visions become a reality. Maybe you want to elevate your podcast and add some video, or turn that novel you wrote into an audiobook. Or maybe you just need the right space to produce your daily vlog. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, Floored Media has the professional facilities, exceptional staff, and intimate atmosphere to breathe life into your creative passions at every step of the process.
Did you have a nice break? Well, it's time to get back on the couch for more Islanders therapy on Hockey Night in New York.
An intimate atmosphere.
Brian, thanks a lot for spending your Sunday night with us, man. How you been?
I'm doing all right, guys. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So a lot of excitement here coming into the new season. Islanders make a big pickup in Anthony Duclair. You got Maxim Siplikov coming over from the KHL. Very intriguing. What do you think overall of the Islanders summer, how they did?
I think they're going to be faster just by adding a guy like Duclair, and that was obviously an Achilles heel last year, so that'll be nice to see. As far as Siplikov goes, guys, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like they've been down this road so many times, whether it's Jan Kovac or Golashev, you can go, Petrov, Kabanov, like, until this guy actually plays in a real NHL game. Like, I know he looks okay in rookie camp, that's fantastic, but the guy's, 25? Like, he has to play against legitimate NHL opposition before people can get excited about it and put him on one of those top two lines.
Hey, Brian. I wanted to ask you.
Hi, Steph.
How are you? Matt Martin coming in on a PTO. What do you make of this move there?
I'm not surprised. I figured that would be at least the least Lou would do for him after. I mean, he's no Matt forever, going back to his days in Toronto. Matt still wants to play. Can he still play? I don't know. I do believe Lou when he says that he has a legit shot to make the team. It's going to be up to Matt. But getting back to the speed factor, guys, I mean, Kyle McLean was a monster for them last year. Like, I don't see any way that McLean doesn't make it. And then you add guys like Holmstrom and maybe an Oliver Wahlstrom to the mix too. If Matt's going to make the roster, he's definitely going to have to earn it. I would call it probably 20-80 that he makes the team, but I'm not supposed to root for anybody, but I'm certainly rooting for a guy like Matt, whether it's here or somewhere else.
Right, for sure. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, I would like to think that even if it doesn't work out that way, he'll still find himself a role, within the team to be around the locker room. Because, you look at guys like Johnny Boychuk, these are guys who are leaders. These are guys who, are loved in the locker room. Matt Martin is no exception there. So maybe there's a role for him even if he doesn't make the team, huh?
Maybe. I mean, who knows? I don't know what Matt's plans are. If it's not here, like I said, is he willing to play in the A for a year and help younger kids in that regard? I don't know what Matt's thinking. I haven't talked to Matt. I have no idea. He's got a beautiful family here on the island, so obviously this is where he wants to be. He's always wanted to be here. But if he doesn't make the team and can catch on in the minors somewhere for another year and make, a couple of $100,000, good for him. I don't know what his plans are. I would think he'll be with the organization at some point down the road if it's not now. But if he wants to keep playing, we'll see how it goes.
For sure. So Steph and I were talking about a little bit just before you came on. Obviously, a huge factor, probably factor number one here for the New York Islanders is Ilya Sorokin. Rough year last season. Some concerns about a little injury nagging him right now. What do you make of just what happened last year with his play, and can he bounce back this year? Will he bounce back?
I'll answer the second question first. Yes, he's just too talented not to.
Right.
What happened last year? It's anybody's guess, Shawnee, whether it was a systems thing, or he just physically something was bothering him all year long and he played through it. I mean, that's what happened with Scotty Mayfield, right? We found out at the end of the day that's what was going on with Scotty. Ilya is one of the best goalies in the league. We know that. I can't, as long as he's healthy. And obviously there was a bit of a hiccup here over the summer. I believe Lou again when he says he's fine, and if he's not on the ice on day one of camp, it's not the end of the world as long as he's healthy for opening night. I think that's the big thing. And if he's healthy, he'll be a top 5 goalie again in the NHL, I would think.
Yeah, Patrick Waugh here. The defense should be much better. Should help Sorokin calm down in his crease a little more. But Brian, I wanted to ask you about Wahlstrom. This was a guy that has had chances. 3 head coaches, got a stint under Patrick Waugh. It's kind of shocking that he's still here. Are you surprised that he's still here? And do you think he truly has a chance to make this team?
Am I surprised? A little bit. I thought that Lou would probably find them another home. Maybe the offers were insulting to Lou. Who knows at the end of the day what happened there? Lou's not going to tell you or anybody else. We know that. I wouldn't rule him out. I really wouldn't. Going back to Siplikov, again, we have no idea what that guy is. If they feel they need another guy among the top 6 to put the puck in the net, my money's on Wahlstrom before Siplikov. At least Wahlstrom's played in A, North America, and B, in the National Hockey League, right? So he's got an elite wrist shot, as we all know, with a full year and a full camp under Patrick Waugh. Who knows? Maybe he has a dynamite camp and makes the team and gets on a roll from the beginning. We have no idea, but I just wouldn't rule him out yet. I think there's too much talent there. I know he's yet to put it all together, but he's still young. He has the shot, like I said, so we'll see. We'll see what happens, but I wouldn't rule him out just yet.
Well, if he's still here, you might as well give him a chance, right? You
Absolutely.
might as well put him on the
time to
ice
do
and
it.
see what happens. But
Yep.
you mentioned a full camp of Patrick Waugh. Let's talk about that. What does that mean for this team? Obviously, a tall order for him last season, coming in mid-season, gets the team in the playoffs, gets them over the hump where it looked pretty dicey coming in. What's it going to mean for this squad for not only Patrick Waugh having a full training camp, but also having that new bench behind him?
I think the big thing is that he's just a fiery guy, and he has the respect factor right out of the chute, given his resume, both as a player and as a coach. I think that's going to be tremendous, especially for the younger guys, the veterans. I mean, I know Matty Barzell loved him from everything that I read and heard that Matty said last year, so that's great. From Stefen's perspective, the quote book's going to be fantastic as opposed to nothing against Lane Lambert, but Patrick, you never know what Patrick's going to say, which is always a good thing for reporters, right? So camp should be fun. It should be competitive. There's spots open like we've been talking about, and it's going to be intense. I would expect some pretty hard skates those first couple of days, and then the preseason starts only a few days after that, so it should be a fun competitive camp, I would think.
Compton, Noah Dobson had a tremendous year, 70 points last year. How high do you think the ceiling is for this guy? And I guess too, how much more impressive is it if he could fix the defensive end of his game? We know points are a premium in the NHL for defensemen, but to see him take defensive strides, that's probably got to be the biggest thing coming up for him.
Well, that's what he has to do. I mean, I think we all know that he's going to put up points. That's his bread and butter. But if he could clean things up in his own end of the ice, that could be, honestly, guys, you might think I'm crazy. That might be the difference of the Islanders making the playoffs or not making the playoffs. Because at the end of the day, it's about keeping the puck out of your own net. Like I was saying earlier, Sorokin's going to be better. But to do that, he's going to need some help. And Noah Dobson's a guy who's going to play 25, 26 minutes a night. And he's going to be their number one defenseman, no question about that. So if he can clean some things up in his own end of the ice, like I was saying, the points will be there, but he's got to be better defensively. And if he is, that could be the difference of whether or not the Islanders make the playoffs.
And let's stay on that, Brian, just the Islanders making the playoffs. You look at what they did this past summer, and maybe the teams around them in the Metro and even in the wild card area of the Atlantic. Did this team do enough to make the playoffs again? And is there a clearer path where they're not getting in by the skin of their teeth like they like to do in recent years? Can they get in a little more comfortably, or is this going to be another down to the wire, cross your fingers, hope they get in situation?
There's so much parity. I don't know. I don't think it's so much what they did. Like I said, Declare is going to help them. He's going to score goals. He's going to make them look faster, which is imperative. I mean,
Yeah.
in today's NHL, it's a skating league. You got to be faster. And so he'll help them in that area. I think it's the other stuff. If Sorokin is better, if Dobson is better in his own end of the ice, like we were talking about, if Scotty Mayfield, I know he's their sixth defenseman, but if he gets hurt or if anybody, health is a big part of it too. If somebody goes down, especially on that back end, they're going to be in a lot of trouble because it's their system. There's not a whole lot there, at least not yet. So especially from the defensive end, like if you're talking about Grant Hutton coming in and playing 20 minutes a night, that's going to be a problem, especially in that division with so much talent. So I think health is the biggest thing. And then the things that we were talking about, Sorokin, Dobson, those guys, if they can be better, that's going to be the difference. Because I'm not sure anyone around them got significantly better either. Let's be honest.
Right.
So Philly should be a little bit better, I think, with a guy like Mitchkov stepping in. You know, a top 10 pick with a boatload of talent coming in years earlier than the Flyers anticipated. We know what the Rangers are for the most part. The Capitals will probably be a bubble team, and then you got to worry about the other teams in that wild card race. Did Ottawa get better? Did Buffalo get better? The Devils will be better, I think, with Jacob Markstrom as the number one goalie. So, but the Islanders have to focus on themselves. If those guys can be better where they're supposed to be, I think they'll be okay.
To me, Pellick's probably, said Dobson could be the make or break for them making the playoffs. For me, it's Pellick. Do you think Pellick and that Pulock pairing can get back to where they were a couple of years ago? Or do you think more or less age has kind of made them a second pairing on this team or most teams?
I don't think it's age, Steph. I think it's more of a systems thing. I'm not quite sure what the system is. Is this Barry Trotz from 2018? I don't know. Like, I think we have to see a full year of Patrick to determine what the Islanders want to be. I think Patrick's going to be a little bit more offensive minded than Barry was, which could be fun to watch, and it can also be a problem. There's a lot of talent around them, so we'll just have to wait and see. But Pellick and Pollock, those are two guys. If they're healthy, again, it goes back to health. If they're healthy, I wouldn't have too much concern with those two guys.
Well, Brian, there's an important question that I want to sneak in before I let you go. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good is Stefen at steak cutting?
It's -5. It's
Jeez, level down.
I mean, I haven't had dinner with Stefen in a couple of years, so hopefully he's gotten better at it, Shawnee. But man, I thought I was having dinner with C-Comp when he was like 5 years old. Back in the day.
Now, in fairness, I heard there was a plastic knife involved, so maybe you give him a little credit there.
I think that's Stefen's reasoning. It was all metal, Shawnee. That's nonsense.
That's hilarious. Well, Stefen, you got plenty of years to go to literally get your cutting.
He'll get there.
I'll
Baby
get there.
steps.
Give me 10 years.
All right, so reel it back in here. Last one from me. Any favorites in the East and West? You have a final sized up for yourself yet? Maybe somebody who's going to kind of rise above the rest. I know. For me, I think it's a little tougher. I think that you can pick any team from like 1 to 5 in each conference. But is there anybody that sticks out to you on each side?
I'll start with the West. I know this is, a lazy pick. I really like Edmonton, Shawnee. I really, really do. I think it's one of those cases where you got to lose before you can win. Yeah. I think that has been bugging a guy like Connor McDavid forever since they lost that Game 7, being down 3-0 in that series and getting that close to winning the whole thing. I would keep my eyes on Edmonton. I can't wait to see what Nashville looks like with the additions they made with Stamkos and Marchessault. UC Saros is one of the best goalies in the league. They're going to be an awfully tough outcome playoff time if everybody stays healthy there. The East, I don't know. I think the Bruins are going to be really, really good. Elias Lindholm he's not Patrice Bergeron, but he's a really good two-way centerman. That was a hell of a pickup for them. The Rangers are going to be a pain in the neck. I know your audience doesn't want to hear that, but Peter Laviolette's a hell of a coach, as everybody knows. Florida didn't really lose anybody either. They're going to be awfully good again. The East is going to be awfully tough, and it's going to come down to health. I know that's lazy as well, but it's going to be a lot of fun, I think, from game 1 to 82 across the board. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Last one from me here, kind of a funny one, but Keith Kincaid being at rookie camp. First off, what'd you think when you saw that? And secondly, how much of this do you think is a favor? And do you think there's any chance he does get maybe a two-way deal or AHL contract?
I'm glad you brought that up because
Thank
we
you.
were talking about Sorokin's health. I think a lot of this is Varley's health too, guys. I mean, he's had issues
Fair.
pretty much since he got here. It's not been season-long stuff, but going back when Elliott broke that news about Sorokin that something was going on. Oh, well, that's why they got Marcus Hogberg. I think they got these guys because they just want to have insurance because they're not sold on a guy like Skarek just yet, or maybe they never will be.
Never.
Yeah.
Who
Probably.
knows?
Yeah.
But Keith Kincaid's a great guy. He's a big wrestling fan like I am, so we chirp each other every now and then about Monday Night Raw and that kind of stuff. And obviously, I have Long Island bias as you guys do as well. So, is he gonna get a contract? I don't know, but it's just great to get to see him in an Islander uniform for at least a couple of weeks. It's pretty cool.
He's also been interview-wise, he's hysterical. Everything's a joke.
He's a great
Everything's
guy.
fun.
He's
awesome.
a great guy. Yeah.
Very nice. Well, Brian, great to have you back on the show, man. Really appreciate your time, and looking forward to talking to you down the road.
All right, boys. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Thanks,
you gotta
Brian.
take it easy. All right, folks. That was Brian Compton, otherwise known as B Comp, from
And my
NHL.com.
boss.
I think he just shook his head. He's still watching. But great stuff from him, as always. Always a pleasure to have him on the show. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair assessment of what's going on, right? Probably right in the same spot that they were. You got some teams that maybe got a little better, got a little worse. And I think, he touched on the beasts of each side, right? Edmonton's going to have a go at it in the West again.
Yeah, they're going to be hungry.
The Rangers, the Panthers. You look at he didn't mention Carolina, which I think is
they
appropriate.
took so many steps back.
I think that they dipped a little bit. I think you kind of have a situation where Jersey bumps up and takes Carolina's place a little bit.
Luke Hughes' injury is a big one.
What's the latest on that?
6 to 8 weeks shoulder.
Is that right?
Yeah. Someone saw him.
I must have been sleeping when that news broke.
So someone posted him in a sling, I think, at the Jet game or some game. And the next day they came out with the statement. So obviously they were trying to hide it, which is fair.
Right.
Again, you don't want to release that stuff. But
Right.
yeah, I think he had shoulder surgery 6 to 8 weeks. And
That's
sure,
a big loss.
he's a rookie. He had to take strides last year and learn, but it's a big loss.
For sure. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how well the Devils bounce back, especially given that news. But I'd like to think that they're going to be in the mix, for a higher seed in the division. I mean, they just have too much, youth and talent on that team.
I think this is the weakest the Metros. Everyone talks about how the Metros being one of these divisions where it is still challenging because all the teams are. I mean, the Rangers, they excel in the regular season. Carolina was one of those teams. I think they take a step back, but it's wide open. You could,
Yes.
again, is it likely the Islanders win the division? No.
Right.
But there could be a team that you think is going to win the division that ends up missing the playoffs, or a wild card team that wins the division. That's why the Islanders getting off to a strong start, whoever it is in this division, is important because it's always close and there's parity. But if you get off to a rough start and these other teams get off to a hot start, you could be playing catch up. But it comes down to the wire every year because there's no one team that really truly takes it and runs with it. Mm-hmm. The Rangers played well, more importantly because Quick was there when Shesterkin struggled. The Islanders, when Sorokin struggled, Varley was there, but they ran Sorokin.
Yep.
And that hurt them a lot. And
Right.
so we'll see how things are handled this year with the goaltending, but this division is wide open. Could the Islanders finish second? They could. They could finish first. It really all depends how you get out of the gate and then consistency. And with Wah, you would hope that the Islanders, if they can find their game early in the season, it's not one of those one night they play amazing, one night they play terrible. It's one of those where whatever they're going to be, they're going to be. And for Islander fans, hopefully it's a winning record.
I think you nailed it in that it's definitely going to be more open this season. I think it's a little tougher to gauge exactly where everybody ends up in the Metro this year, and I think it has taken a step back. It's not as scary as it used to be in years past. I think you just have, like Brian said, there's a lot more parity just in the division right now with certain, with Carolina especially losing all those guys, and we don't know what we're going to get from the Devils yet, despite the names that they brought in coming in. And then you still have the Capitals and the Penguins.
And the Flyers,
I think they're still in the decline. The Flyers were a lot better than I think we expected.
But
last season,
I would say they were a Cinderella story last year.
Oh, absolutely.
They rode a wave. And Michkov, it's a great point. Michkov's going to be a superstar for them, but I think they overperformed last year and then back to reality at the end of the year. I think they could struggle this year for sure. And goaltending's going to, look at this entire division. The teams that are not going to make the playoffs are probably not going to make it because of their goaltending.
Sure.
And the teams that are going to be, Carolina has always been able to overcome their goaltending.
Right.
Right
Maybe
now,
not
they
this
lost
year.
some big key forecheckers, some big defensemen. And this was a defense that, after the Islanders' Trotz era, Carolina's defense was suffocating. Every word you used to describe the Islanders during Trotz when they were going to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals. Then you started saying that about Carolina, suffocating, keeping to the outside.
Right.
They lost some big pieces. That again, I don't think Frederick Anderson was solid enough when he came back from injury last year. But then in the playoffs, they got eliminated because of him.
Right, for sure.
So you're thinking in a full season, they have him, they have Kochetkov. I don't know. I would be concerned about Carolina's goaltending. The Devils, Markstrom's an upgrade, sure. I don't think he didn't carry Calgary when they needed him the most.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I would have rather gotten who Ottawa got. I would have rather gotten Olmark, right? But, Markstrom's, he's definitely an improvement. We'll see what happens there. But I know you had a topic or two you wanted to hit up that we didn't get to in the A segment.
Yeah, first off, we mentioned Kincaid, Long Island guy from Farmingville. But we also have Marshall Warren, who's from Laurel Hollow, New York. I honestly can't tell you where that is, but it's on Long Island. He grew up a diehard Islander fan. He went and played 4 years at BC. Because of COVID, they got that extra year, transferred to Michigan.
Okay.
Ended up scoring a game-winning goal there for them. But when he was on Long Island playing for the Gulls, his coaches were Bill Guerin, Steve Stais, and Doug Waite. And he said they brought him to the games at the Coliseum.
The Islander triad.
They were hanging in the wives section, getting to meet all the players. He said it was the coolest thing. And every time I go in the room, so we've had 4 days of rookie camp, I love to talk with him. He's grinning ear to ear. And I always ask him, how surreal. He goes, he's living a dream. And Kincaid said the same thing today too. I asked him, and he goes, "Yeah." When I told Lou, I said to Lou today, he goes, "Yeah, when he signed you with the Devils, that was really cool." I told him today, I'm going, being here is really cool. Keith Kincaid grew up a diehard Islander fan as well. Said that he had his best memories of being a child was being at Nassau Coliseum. So it's really cool to see two Long Islanders. There's not that. I mean, Long Island's growing as a hockey town and getting players to the NHL, but to see a guy at the end of his career and now a guy just beginning, both from Long Island, getting a chance at rookie camp, that's been really cool.
Right on. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on before we went to break?
No, I think that's good.
Well, folks, I want to thank you all for tuning in here at Hockey Night in New York across YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter. We're all over the place, live and recorded on YouTube. Thanks a lot for tuning in live. Remember, we're going to be having a live chat during Questions Brewing later on, so hang out for that and make sure you ask us some questions then. We're going to take a quick break, and then the train rolls on.
Islanders fans, Sunday night is Hockey Night in New York. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, tune in to Hockey Night in New York. Catch us live from Floored Media in Rockville Center, Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, as we cover all things Islanders at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. All episodes are also available on YouTube and all your favorite podcast providers. And for all you social butterflies, you can follow at HockeyNightNY on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for all the latest updates. Hockey Night in New York, the best night of the week for any Islanders fan. Thanks for giving some time to our sponsors. Ready to talk more Isles? The train rolls on right here on Hockey Night in New York.
That's right, folks. The train rolls on right into Center Station in Rockville Center. Center Station Bar and Grill presenting our What's on Tap segment where we tell you what's going on and coming up in the Islanders schedule. Now, obviously, the games aren't coming up yet exactly, but we have the main camp coming up on Thursday, correct, Stefen?
That would be day one, yep.
There you go. From there, we got the preseason starting a week from today. The Islanders will be in New Jersey, and then they play the Devils, the Rangers, and the Flyers essentially 2 times each for the preseason. And then, of course, the regular season kicks off October 10th. At UBS Arena, the Utah Hockey Club.
Great name.
Will be coming.
So creative. I love how much they really thought about this.
I mean, did they really need another year's worth of time to come up with a name? I mean, did they really?
Oh, probably
They probably could have gotten it together, you know? I mean, I guess better to play the long game and get it right. But
sure.
Obviously, you disagree.
I'm just still feeling bad for Coyotes fans because that owner, Morello, did them so dirty.
Yes, he did.
I'm happy for the players because they were playing at their little small arena. I'm blanking on the name because it was so unimportant. But to walk to the visiting locker room, you had to go outside on concrete to get there.
Yeah.
The players hated it.
Right.
I mean, the cool part as a fan, for me, if you're, even when covering the game there, has been really cool because you're so close. You can hear the chirping on the ice. You can hear all the breakouts. I'm open, things like that. That's a cool experience. If I was a player that had to play 41 games there, it's got to be awful. Now, they're not going to speak out about it too much, and maybe at Utah we'll hear more of them complain because they have a nice facility. It's just a shit. These guys are NHL players. Playing out of there is just unacceptable.
Yeah, listen, they didn't work hard their entire careers to play on a college campus with all of those lack of amenities that you just talked about. Like, the novelty was probably cool the first week or two, and then it probably wore off pretty quick.
The worst part, too, is that 90% of the fans were for the visitors.
Yeah, that's rough,
and that's got to suck.
Yeah.
But that's done. Hopefully, at some point, the Coyotes get a team back for those fans who had to go through really challenging times. But hopefully for Utah, this is a young... I mean, the Coyotes I wouldn't say they did it right. They kept taking on bad contracts for picks. But you're seeing these picks, Doan's kid,
right.
Aginla. Like, there are a lot of young, talented guys now ready to emerge to be NHL guys, where this team's finally ready. I mean, I thought last year they would be a wild card team. They got close, but not too close. I think this year could be a year where they find a way to sneak in. I like their jerseys. I think we'll see how it goes on.
Yeah, colors are different and solid. I think so.
But they should be solid for their first year in Utah.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll play devil's advocate. You said you feel really bad for the fan base, and I agree. They deserve all the sympathy in the world to get dragged around like that, but it's almost like they had 9 lives, too. I mean, you look at how many times Gary Bettman in the league had to step in and save that team just from poor ownership or, bankruptcy, whatever the hell it was. I mean, it's almost shocking that they lasted as long as they did, because you always wonder, would Bettman have gone to bat as much as he did for them for any other franchise in the league? I mean, he just really wanted Arizona
what's
to
funny
work.
is that the Islanders had to move from Nassau Coliseum to Barclays because it wasn't big enough to be an NHL caliber arena.
Yeah.
Yet the Coyotes could go play at a college campus.
Right.
You feel like that's,
Well, look,
I think Bettman was trying to force the hand of the Islanders to get a new arena. Be like, you guys can't play here, so figure it out. Whereas for the Coyotes, it was just like, obviously they didn't want them to move. That wasn't ideal. But it is what it is. It's in the past. The Islanders will open up. That'll be Utah's second game.
Right. They open at home against...
Want to say it's Chicago, but I could be completely wrong.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Let's say
We were
Chicago.
about the Islanders here.
We get a fact check. Yeah, can we get a fact check?
Not a big deal.
Want to talk about prospects?
Yes, I would, actually.
I don't. No, I'm kidding. You good? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're going to ask me anything or no?
Oh, I thought
forget it. I got this. All right. Prospect camp. So they're calling it rookie camp. I don't think there's more than 2 rookies actually at camp. All the college guys that got drafted didn't come because I don't think the rule is. I think they used to have to pay their own way if they wanted to come because they weren't NHL or AHL players, ECHL. Sure. But now because the Islanders don't hold development camp right after the draft like a lot of teams do, those kids have to be at college already. Getting into their dorms, getting into their summer workouts. Sure. So, I mean, there's other reasons why Lou doesn't have a development camp or do the rookie showcases. I know we have someone that asked that question for later on, so I'll save that. But so like Cole Eiserman, Camille Bednarek, Danny Nelson, Quinn Finley, 4 college kids are not there. So a lot of these guys have been here before, second or third year camp. I have a list of a couple here I just wanted to get to. Alex Jeffries, this is his first camp. He was a 2024 Hobie Baker finalist at Merrimack. Had a really strong NHL career. Came, like most guys when their college career ends, they sign AHL PTOs. They go and join Bridgeport for a handful of games.
Yep.
So Alex Jeffries went to Bridgeport. I think he had 4 goals, 3 assists in 12 games. 2022 4th round pick. He's got a great shot. He loves to shoot, loves to score. His issue is the same thing that Wallstrom's issue is, that people are hoping is not Eiserman's issue, is that playing away from the puck and getting the puck back. It's a challenge for a lot of these young kids coming out of college where they dominated. And talking with Kowalski, he said this for a lot of guys, when you go from college or juniors to the AHL, it's not about how, obviously they go and dominate where they were and they come here. It's the pace of play, finding a way to be consistent and finding ways to do stuff without the puck. They're so used to getting fed the puck or going around guys that aren't going to be playing in the pro hockey. That's the biggest thing they got to get used to. So Jeffries has a 6 shot. He's got an NHL caliber shot. Can he put it all together in his first year in the AHL? It'll take some time, but he was probably the top prospect, offensive prospect before they drafted Eiserman, who has now catapulted to the top there. I mentioned Artem Kudashov before, the Russian, the 19-year-old. He can skate. He can move. The fact that he's 19 has already had 2 years of professional experience in the KHL. I'm not going to say the KHL is like the NHL, and I even think the AHL might be competitive-wise maybe a little higher. The AHL, I think, is the second best league in the world, talent-wise. Yeah. But he's playing against men. It's not college where there's an age gap or juniors. He's going up against men. He's very nifty. He could skate. He's got great edge work. So that's a guy to watch. I mean, his season already started in the KHL. He was also at Flyers development camp. And so when I spoke to him, he said the Islanders' European scouts watched him play in the K and invited him over. This guy's dad played, I think, 25 games with the Toronto Maple Leafs years ago. So his dad's an NHL player or was an NHL player. But it's a guy to watch because Bridgeport could use a guy like that. I mean, all these guys are the defensemen that are at camp right now, maybe outside of Rajan Niemi. They're all mobile defensemen. And today's NHL, and you need that. And if someone gets hurt, they don't have Robin Salo's gone. Cholowski might be the first call up, or Hutton, right? So I think having that in Bridgeport, Kudashov could be an NHL player at some point. Again, he's only 19 years old. He's here. That's good. Matt Maggio, his work ethic makes you root for him. It's just one of those guys that, I don't want to say put his head down, because your head's not supposed to be down when you're playing, but you know what I mean. He goes to work.
Yes.
He could play with everybody. He really impressed at last year's camp. And this year going to Bridgeport, he struggled in the first half. He had to learn what it was to be a pro in that pace of play. Second half, he was their best forward. So I think for him coming to camp now, not that he's a veteran at these camps, this is his third, I believe, but he seems so much more confident. He knows what's going on. He knows he's got friends now that he's been able to connect with. So this is a guy to watch, because I think at some point he's going to get a chance at the NHL level. I think he's a guy that could be a middle six guy. He's to me like Fasching in the sense where Fasching's first year, you could play him in a top six role and he could add that skill element. And you play him in a bottom six role, he does that. Maggio has an elite shot. Elite offensive capabilities, but also is smart enough defensively to know where to be. And I think the defensive game, it's why Holmstrom got his chance that he got. And then you hope the offense comes. For Maggio, I think it's the same thing. It's just going to be about chances. For Ruslan Isakov is not here right now because his agent and him believe that the chance wasn't there.
Well, I think that's the shame of it with all these prospects, as you talk about the chances. There's no intrigue here with this training camp.
No one's making it.
Yes, as
Besides
far
Sivakov.
as availability, as far as positions go, we already know more or less what the roster is going to look like. It's really just who from last season's team isn't going to make it. Right? And, that's when you dangle names like Holmstrom. Not that I think he's not going to make the team. Wallstrom, Fasching. Gauthier, right? It's even tough to even put him in that mix. But the fact of the matter is that there's this gap of players even before you even look at these prospects, right? So they're really just coming in to get their feet wet in NHL competition in a training camp. And they're either going to, AHL, they're going to Worcester, or they're going back to college or what have you, right? That's pretty much all there is. It's a shame that there's really no intrigue as far as this kid's got a shot or that kid's got a shot, and this kid has a good shot literally on the ice, and can he fit in somewhere in the middle six? No, there's none of that. It's just, barring just an unexpected breakout camp from one of these kids, we already know they're all going elsewhere once, all is said and done.
Right. What I will say is a guy like Kyle McLean, last year he was at prospect camp because he was still in an AHL deal before signing his deal. He was a standout, and then at camp, we're thinking, all of us were talking, going, this guy, if he plays like this in the AHL, he's going to get called up. He'll be the first call. But I think for a lot of these guys, because Patrick wasn't on the ice, but he's watching. So first impressions are huge. You're pretty much at this point as a rookie or a prospect trying to show off and get in the back of Waz's mind, or Lou's mind, whereas, we got to call someone up. Boom. That first name comes to mind. Maybe it's a Maggio. Maybe it's Isaiah George, who I didn't get to, or William Dufour. That's the goal of this camp, to prove to these guys I took strides from last year and I have the competitive nature, and I'm going to show up for you whenever I get called upon. Again, it sucks for these guys because all these NHLers are signed to long-term deals. We were talking about it before the show started, and we'll get to it maybe a little later, but goaltending. The Islanders just drafted a couple of goalies. They have a couple of goalies in their system, but they have 3 years until Varlamov's off the books if he still remains. Then you have 7 years until Sorokin's gone. By that point, they're not prospects. A lot of these guys aren't prospects anymore.
Right.
So it's tough. It's got to be a tough pill to swallow for a lot of these guys looking, I'm a top six forward. Unless they let Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri go, and let's say Siplikov or whoever doesn't win that other job, you're not getting top six chance, which means if you do get a chance, it'll be a bottom six role. Maybe that doesn't fit your game, and then you got to adapt. There's a lot of guys that are, Matt Martin was a goal scorer in juniors. A lot of these guys were Aaron Ashton goal scorers in juniors.
Right.
And then you do what you got to do to stick.
Sure.
But some of these guys, I do truly believe Oliver Wahlstrom's a top six talent. I don't think he has the game, and he's added some physicality in his game, but he might only be able to be a bottom six guy on this team, and I don't think that fits his game.
Or any team for that matter.
Whereas if he goes to a team like the Ducks or the Sharks, where, hey, go focus on scoring goals, play top six, worry about defensively, but we want you to focus on getting the confidence in offense. That's where he has to be. That's not where he could be here. And that's the trouble for a lot of these guys. That's why I said a guy like Maggio or Dufour, sure, they have offensive talent, but Dufour is a big body. He could play a bottom six role. Matt Maggio's got the defensive mindset where he could play a bottom six role. I just think a guy like Wallstrom, even a guy like Siplikov, he might not be able to play a bottom six. Yes, he's physical, but if his game's all offense, it's going to be really tough if he gets bottom 6 chances and he doesn't come through.
Is there anybody else you wanted to touch on before we move on?
Yeah, I did want to touch on Dufour. This is a guy that came into camp last year, exponential growth skating-wise, and we thought, all right, this is the year for him. He struggled a lot. I talked to him. I have a story coming out on the HNiNY about this. He had a mental battle last year. Struggled when the highs were high. It was great for him. But the lows, he said, were bad. And he couldn't down. He had a hard time snapping back. He got some help. He's doing great now.
Okay.
He's very
That's good
confident.
news.
It's great to hear. That's the most important thing. No one, mental health is such a thing where I think, not that players are scared, but you're not manly when you're talking about that stuff. You don't want to open up.
Right.
So it's great to hear that he's doing much better. Like I said, I'll have a story tomorrow morning on that.
Great.
But he looks really good. He looks much stronger. He looks like a guy that's ready to take that jump. And with Ishchikov gone, there's a hole in the offense for Bridgeport where guys like Maggio, where guys like Dufour, Jeffries. Now's your chance to fill that hole because a lot of the veterans, too, have left and gone. So this is a huge year for Dufour. He's got the confidence, which is fantastic. And then Isaiah George. He's a guy that came into rookie camp last year and then training camp. But actually, for a couple of days, you're thinking he might make this team. It was either NHL or juniors. He couldn't go back because of the age. But talking to Pulak, he said he's making us all raise our game with how he played. And he came into camp this year, looks a little bit stronger. His edge work is, an ability to shut down on odd man rushes and also evade danger. He reminded me of Pelech.
Okay.
He's young, and the other thing too is he's tall, but he's not big. And that's the part where Kowalski said, physically mature. Looking at Sipakov, Matt Maggio, he's a smaller guy. I think he's 5'10", 5'11", but he's small. He has to mature into his body. There's a lot of guys like Dufour hasn't a leg up because Dufour's a unit. So that's the thing. A lot of these young guys have to learn nutrition and learn what it takes to go up against men when they went up against kids. So all in all, rookie camp's been good to watch these guys push each other. Today was a hard skating day. Much different. They bag skated. Maggio said that was all Waz doing. Waz said be prepared to do this at camp, which is good because that means accountability from day one. This, everyone talked about the country club, which I don't think is completely fair, but same accountability when Waz first came in. Practice is not going to be just practice, effing around, right? It's going to be, you're going to skate to the dot when I whistle. You're going to go right to the bench. You're going to go do these drills correctly or we're going to redo them.
Right.
So it's good because these youngsters, when they join camp, they're going to hold the NHLers accountable, and it's going to be great.
Yeah. Listen, even though I took the wind out of the sails saying there's no intrigue, it's still going to be fun to see all these kids at camp and see what they can do because, look, they still have jobs to do down in the A and hopefully earn a job, down the road. A guy like Isaiah George is probably on an NHL trajectory.
Yep.
He's just not ready yet.
Yeah, correct. And he could get a call up. I mean, we saw Dufour get that one game. He shouldn't have been called up, and I think it was a misuse of him against the Boston Bruins team where he got, unfortunate. But, spot start there. Someone gets hurt. I mean, the Islanders...
Injuries are inevitable.
Exactly. So the more confident these guys are at camp, going down to Bridgeport, Bridgeport has struggled in the last couple of years to find ways to win hockey games. If they could get better goaltending and some people step up, they build confidence. As long as these guys are going in with the confidence that I'm going to put my best foot forward. If I get called up, great, but I'm going to do everything I can to help Bridgeport win games. That'll make it better for everybody. If your minor league system is doing well, that also bodes well with trade value. Again, a lot of these guys, too, they might not ever make the NHL with the Islanders.
Right.
But we've seen the Islanders, Atu Ratu, be moved in a deal. We've seen these guys be
They got to make the most of whatever assets they got.
But if you're a player that thinks you're not going to get a chance with the Islanders because you're a top 6 talent, you're never going to do it, work your tail off to increase your value where other teams are calling saying, we want this guy. Okay, we'll throw him in for X, Y, and Z to bring him back. Boom. Now you're hard work. Because if you're not working hard and you can't get traded and you're never going to have a chance at the NHL level, you're just going to wash away in Bridgeport, and nobody wants that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that'll do it for What's on Tap, presented by Center Station Bar and Grill. Catch great food, great drinks, and Islanders game all season long, and live events as well at 279A Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center. And now we're going to move on to Hero of the Week. Hit that button, bud. All right, it's time for Hero of the Week, where Stefen and I select a hero from, I guess in this case, the summer, since we really don't have a week prior for the Islanders. But when we kick back into gear, we'll be talking about the performances on the ice. But tonight we're going in a different direction, and I'm going to start with Matt Martin. We had the pleasure of attending his foundation's poker tournament earlier this month. A great time every year, and it's a great cause. They raised $140,000 for service dogs, for military vets, and law enforcement, which is great stuff there. Always a good time. It goes a little late into the night, but it's well worth it.
It was a good
and a
time.
lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. I mean, I got out real quick, but you lasted actually pretty long in that. The poker night.
I lasted a decent amount. I did. And you know what I just remembered? We didn't update the player profiles on Hero, did we?
Sure, it's not Anders Lee.
Oh, wait.
Actually,
Did he do something good too?
He did. So,
Okay.
I saw them looking at each other, and I was like, I know exactly why they're looking at each other.
It's preseason. You're getting cut, but it's preseason.
yeah.
You're going to the A. But no, Anders Lee, like Matt, he has his own foundation charity. Anders Lee does the Jam Cancer in the Can to raise money for families affected by cancer. They ended up raising $200,000, and over the last, I think, 5 or 6 years, they've done it. $2.7 million.
That's amazing.
For families. This year
Wow.
was a kid named Carson. For people in the Islanders community, you probably know about him. He's at a lot of the events. Carson, it's hard to pronounce the sign, neuroplasma, whatever he's dealing with, but I think it's his 3rd time having cancer after he thought he beat it.
Yeah.
So he won CamGen. This is actually the first year that Anders won.
Oh, there you
the
go.
tournament. He played with Carson and his dad, Al. So kudos to
awesome.
them. Glad he's doing much better. And this is an event where the whole team comes down, the fan base comes together. It's really cool. But Matt, what he does in the community, Anders, a lot of these guys have charities, and to see the community come together, it's huge, which is why they are our heroes for this week.
So even though it may not look like them on the screen,
Oh, Anders is up there.
Matt Martin and Anders Lee are our heroes.
Let's see if
It's definitely
Nope.
not.
Who is
It's
it?
definitely not.
it's like Romanov.
Maybe. I hope you got it right, Ed. 'cause that would be sad.
You know what? That's
Yeah.
fair. Romanov gets Hero of the Week because he played a part in Siplikov
No, it's-
coming over.
Okay,
and-
sure.
Is it not Romanov?
No.
It's probably not.
Yeah. I don't know. Come on,
It's
guys.
Jason
it's
definitely
Bo.
doesn't
It's
know.
Bo
I just call him
Oh,
Jason.
it's
That
Bo.
was weird.
Bo had a
It's
rink
Bo.
named after him this summer back in his hometown.
Great.
There you go.
All right. Excellent. Just listen. Don't watch. That's all that matters. So that'll do it for Hero of the Week. Matt Martin, Anders Lee, and next show we'll get it right. We'll get the pictures right. No problem. We're working out the kinks here in the preseason. All right. So why don't we take it to our favorite place known as the Snake
Oh yeah.
Den.
Welcome to the Snake Den with Jake the Snake Redux.
Jake, how we doing, pal? How's the summer?
Summer's going good. I'm getting excited for hockey season. I mean,
Okay.
I'm a Giants fan, so
I wouldn't know.
Wait,
Yeah.
first off, when did he get there? Because he's
I don't know. What are you doing there, by the way?
I teleported.
Teleported?
Yeah.
Really?
he's as fast as Steve Claire. Anyway,
All right.
continue.
Fair enough.
Yeah, my summer was good though.
Yeah. Any highlights?
Like I went to Maryland.
Maryland.
What did you do
okay.
there?
My grandpa's
Sure.
birthday, so
Oh,
that
nice.
was a nice time.
Do you wanna-
Okay.
Do you want to sing? Okay, me neither.
Maybe not. Yeah, no, so summer was good.
All right. So,
Fast as always.
do you have a take for us, Jake?
I do. Well, I do want to mention that that's crazy that Stefen got like negative experience points from Brian on cutting steak. Like,
You know
can't
what?
believe that.
You know what? It was a couple years ago. I think I have improved my steak cutting. I'm eating more steak nowadays to practice.
That's good.
It was subpar. I remember we were leaving the dinner area and Kekalainen, the old Columbus Blue Jackets coach, I'm walking out and he didn't cut his steak, and I said, I got to watch this. One cut. This guy's an absolute unit. It definitely wanted me to push me to get better, so I think I'm okay.
Did you lie about the plastic knife? Because Brian seemed to
I-
call you out.
I may have lied about the plastic. It might have been.
Now that's it. That's another minus 10.
It might have been.
Not for nothing.
well-
It might have been. It's a couple years ago.
The good news is that you said you're improving, so I hope that.
I mean, I'm
I hope
biased.
that's
I have no idea if
actually-
that's true.
I hope that is true, though.
I'll bring you next time. We have steak here on the show, by the way, and I'll cut it for a segment.
We don't
How
have the
about
budget for that, but maybe one day. Jake, what's your take?
So I just wanted to do some very early predictions for the season for the Islanders here. So I'll do it a little rapid fire here. I think they finished
Sure.
with 96 points.
96.
Gets them second in the Metro.
Second with 96. Okay.
Yes, well, as you guys touched on
Yeah.
before, I think the Metro has weakened
Okay.
a decent amount.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's a non-competitive division, but I'm not bought in on some of these teams that like the Devils. But I do have the Devils competing with them for that second spot in the Metro. I go
Okay.
Rangers, Isles, Devils. I think Carolina probably gets into a wild card.
Okay.
Not bought in on the Flyers still, but I think they'll be competitive.
Okay.
For the points on the team, I think Barzell will finish with the most. I think he breaks 90.
Wow.
Be a big
Okay.
He has help. He has a finisher with him in Duclair, so I think that's
Yeah.
going to help him out a
Okay.
lot. I have Dobson second with 88, which is
88?
I know, very high.
This is a very optimistic
very-
take,
To be
Jake.
fair, he had
Very
70
high.
points last year, and he went 20 or 22 games without a goal in halfway
Yeah.
in March or
Oh,
whatever.
that
so
sounds familiar.
you could have had that.
Well,
I think he's going to have a very good year. I don't think
Clearly.
he wins the Norris, but I think his name you will hear in that talk.
I mean,
for
with
the
88
whole
points,
season.
he better be.
Yeah, definitely. And then I have Horvat, who also I believe will be a point per game this year. I said 86. I'm going to go anywhere from 82 to 86 in that range.
Okay.
I think they have 4 30-goal scorers this year.
4?
I know. I'm being crazy optimistic.
What do you got?
Well, Horvat.
Okay.
Of course, Mr. Brock Nelson, who tends
that's
to do
that's
that.
a given.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
I actually think that Duclair has a shot at getting 30 goals while playing on that top line. If that is where he is slotted, I could see him being able to bury 30.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is a hot take.
You can say
hot take from Jake?
Yes.
Okay.
So Matt Barzell, for the first time in his career, gets 30, and I think it's 30 on the nose if he does it.
Wow, a top line, 90 goals from the top line.
That would be something.
That means that means the power play works.
Yes.
You'd have to think so. Yeah.
A little over optimistic here, but we got Patrick Wadd's first year having a camp with this team.
True.
So yeah, it's safe to say that I am.
Hey,
optimistic.
listen, I like starting off on a positive foot here.
Yes.
So why not? And then when you're wrong 10 games into the season,
We have it on record.
We will have that on record.
No, I love it.
I would say if that happens, Patrick Waugh goes to the Hall for that line, but he's already in the Hall. So
yeah,
okay.
he's good. He's good.
I have so it was announced that Cal's not coming back.
Right.
Which means there's an A up for grabs. I think that, and as the fan base, as we've been asking for a while, I think Bo Horvat gets a letter.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay.
So this is
Hadn't
also
thought about
this
that.
might be my most optimistic. Is we know Sorokin didn't have his best season last year. I think he's going to bounce back big time. I think that he's going to win at least 32 games.
Okay.
With 6 shutouts.
Okay.
And he's going to be in the running probably with our crosstown rivals, the Rangers, Shesterkin for the Vezina.
Is he going to win it, though, Jake? Is he going to? Do you have the stones to make the claim?
I've already said too much.
You said
I was
a
gonna
lot.
say,
Yeah, I mean, you might as well just go 10 for 10 here.
Yeah, he's going to win the Vezina.
He won't
You heard
allow
it
a
here,
goal
everybody.
the entire season.
A fun one was now we don't know if Matt Martin's going to be on the team, if he's going to make the team. If he makes the team, how much he actually plays.
Right.
Our new fighter will lead the team in fights, Kyle McLean.
With one fight?
Let's go 2 to 3, yeah.
2 to 3.
And he's going to win all of them.
All right, Jake with a lot of takes, making up for the entire summer.
Yeah, or Anders Lee or Horvat, as we were talking about earlier today. I think that those two, because, those are guys who stick up for their teammates. So Anders definitely gets into a handful of scrums. If he wins them, I don't know.
How many fights for Waugh?
That's a good
He should
question.
fight Tortorella.
And are they with Islanders or non-Islanders?
Yeah, him and Torts across the benches.
That's a good bet. That should be on DraftKings.
Yes. So with 96 points and a second spot in the Metro, I believe they win 1 round this year.
Okay.
They break the hump.
Okay.
And they get 1 round win. As for the league, though, I think this is the year the Dallas Stars put it together and win the Stanley Cup.
I like that pick.
I could
like
see
that pick.
them playing Florida. I just think Florida's so good. I could see them getting right back into it.
Well, Jake just covered himself through January with his takes
Right,
there.
so
I did.
He's
Jake,
good.
Thomas
He's good to
Panic
go.
wants to know if you can predict the parade route.
That I cannot do.
Yeah, we'll wait till February for
I'm
that.
not saying
Yeah.
this team's going to win the Stanley Cup, but I do have high hopes for them, and I'm excited for a full year under Waugh. I think that what they did this summer was great with bringing in Duclair. I'm excited for Siplikov as well.
All right.
I hope he pans out, and I think that we have things to be excited for here in Islanders country.
I love it.
Is that all?
That is all.
Love the optimism. We'll see what happens, but we're just getting started here.
Let me tell you about Main Street Board Games.
Please.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Main Street Board Game Cafe in Huntington Village on Long Island's North Shore. Games for sale and for open play. Food and drink, beer and wine, fun and friends. Bring the magic of phones down, eyes up, tabletop board games to your family. Our staff will help you find the right game from old favorites to the hottest new releases. We have everything from strategic to easy party games. Get off your screens for a night your family will remember. Look for meetups to join. Our Magic the Gathering, Dungeons & Dragons, Lorcana, and organized play communities are welcome for all. We also do parties and corporate events located at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village. Go to MainStreetBoardGameCafe.com for more information. Main Street Board Game Cafe. Find your crowd. Unplug your game.
Unplug your game, and that is MainStBoardGameCafe.com. And with that, we're going to answer some questions in Questions Brewing.
Hit it.
It's time for Questions Brewing. So go ahead, ask us a question.
Wow. Yeah. Edzo, how we doing, pal? How was your summer?
Great. What's better than this? I mean,
nice to
what's
be
better
back in
than
the saddle,
talking
right?
early hockey
Yeah,
with
buddy.
the men and women of our proud community here.
How
And
we
with
doing
that,
there? Yeah.
We're doing great.
Yeah,
I can't-
having some fun?
I can't say I could speak for Jay.
Can you?
I can't. It's,
Is Jay grumpy today? How's he doing? I haven't had a
he
chance
said
to look.
today is it's not one of those days. I tried fooling around before.
Oh,
He
that's
said
a
it's-
shame.
it's-
We're
it's
getting
not
off on a
today.
bad foot with Jay to start the year. That's not great. Hopefully by
Yeah.
October he'll be feeling better.
Minus points.
Minus
Yeah.
points for Jay. No, actually
Negative
plus
XP.
plus 10,000
For
for
Jay,
Jay
yeah.
today.
Stick taps
for
to Jay,
hosting us
everybody.
all day. We had a great day here.
Yes.
We have a whole new staff coming into Hockey Night in New York, and great people, great folks. And Jay hosted us here for a little get together, a little meet and greet. We got Dylan, our new writer, hanging out with us over here on the
Dylan,
couch.
what's up?
Yeah, all great stuff. So big ups to Jay. He leveled up today.
Yeah,
Leveled
He
up.
leveled up today. All right, Ed, what do you
It's loud
got,
out
buddy?
there. Does
Yeah, there's
everyone
a
hear
lot
the,
going-
the,
there's
the
a lot
ambulances
going
are
on.
roaring
Engines,
outside?
yeah,
I've never been
yeah.
able to hear them through the show.
They heard Jake's takes, and everything's on fire now.
Anyway, we're going to start this off with Ms. Mellermania.
All right.
Without Clutterbuck and Martin, do you worry about the toughness of this team?
No. No, I don't. Because I think that they brought more than just toughness. I think it was a locker room presence as well. And I think we all know that the league has been evolving lately over the years where you don't necessarily need guys who were known for their pugilism. Now, granted, that was more Martin than it was Clutterbuck. It was more of the intimidation factor, and more of these guys are gonna, hit you at in any way, shape, or form at any given time. They'll miss that. There's no doubt about it, but I don't know if it's going to be to the point where it's a detriment for this team. And I think you have to look to other guys to step up, right? And we'll see who that is. I mean, we know Mayfield is a guy who can mix it up if and when he needs to. He's a big guy. He's a tough guy. Anders Lee, as has been alluded to earlier, is that, he kind of has to evolve his role as well, right? He's getting older. He's getting slower. Obviously, he's still the captain of this team. He's still a leader, but he's a guy who may have to shift focus a little bit, and maybe that's where he still not earns the right. He's obviously well earned the right to be the captain, but maybe that's another way he demonstrates his captaincy by being the guy to step up, stick up for guys, bang some bodies here and there. Because, look, he's still making a big contract there, and we know he's not going to live up to it on the points, on the scoreboard. So maybe that's his way of doing it, is making up for Matt Martin and Cal Clutterbuck.
Especially in a bottom six role. It's different when you're a top 6. You're not going to fight in the middle of an odd man rush, shift, things like that. Also, I'm really intrigued to see McLean. After what he did in the playoffs, one, he was their best performer by far, but he lived the playoff vibe. Like, he was in the fight.
Yeah,
Obviously, he had the fight, but he was getting into these areas. I'm not saying he's going to be a Brad Marchand, but I do think he's going to have a little bit of pest in his game on the forecheck. Sipakov, if he makes the team, Sipakov's a big boy. If he's out there on the ice, I don't think many people are going to mess around with him, and I think he's a guy that will, like Romanov, protecting the front of the crease. If Sipakov gets back and does that stuff, I could see him being a guy. Not to fight, but bring that physical where, hey, while I'm on the ice, you're not going to go touch XY.
I also think that this team has a general team toughness. And I'm not saying you're looking at the Islanders roster and you're intimidated. But, I think if a guy's going after Matt Barzal, Bo Horvat's a guy that'll step in and stick up for him. Some stuff like that, right? I think Palmieri's a feisty guy. He's always getting himself in trouble. Is he a big guy? Is he going to, take anybody out? No, not necessarily. But I think there's a general team toughness. Down the line, you go Anders Lee, JG Pajot, scrappy little guy, right? And you get to the fourth line, Casey Cizikas, he's still going to be hitting everybody that moves, right? So I don't think, as much as the team is going to miss these guys just because of their leadership and their personalities and everything that we don't see in the locker rooms.
Clutterbuck's the DJ. You gotta figure out a new
which
thing
is
for that.
huge. Who's going to take up the mantle there?
I think it'll be Scott. I have a feeling.
As long as he doesn't play country music, man.
They
I'm in
play
there.
everything though. Country music, big booty mix. Like
that is the one genre of music I can't do.
Me too.
Is country.
That's right.
But listen, I think they're going to be okay on that front, and I think if Lou finds that they're lacking in that regard, I think he's old school and the type of guy that'll try to bring somebody in if he finds the room to replace that. But I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, that was a no?
That was a no.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
We're back, baby.
Next up from Gail R on YouTube. For the guys on PTO, how do we pick one up if we are over on the cap space?
Right. So PTOs, AHL can last 25 games. So that being said, if he doesn't get an NHL contract, they could be on PTOs in Bridgeport. But I think what it does for a guy like Martin, too, it buys time. Whereas you didn't have to sign him yet. Once camp opens up, he can't play an NHL game if he doesn't have a contract. But I think for Kudashov and for Kincaid, it would obviously be AHL deals once they get it. Martin would be the only one that would get an NHL contract. So that's how it would work. That's the problem. They're over the cap. So they can't sign
Right.
Martin. You could be over the cap by 10% in the summer as long as you're cap compliant by when rosters are due. I think it's 3 days before opening night. For the Islanders, at least, I think it's the 7th, 3 days after camp ends. So that's the concern, is they are over the cap. So they can't actually sign Martin yet. They'd have to figure things out, but it gives them more time to figure those things out.
Next up from Michael Laruska on YouTube. Where does Wahlstrom fit in with this team? It seems like Tsiplikov is a better version of Wahlstrom.
So as Compton said, we don't know, and I've been trying to say this too, is as much as I'm showing all the highlights of Tsiplikov dominating against the rookies, it's all going to come down to how he shows in camp. Now, I do think he's going to make the team. He's not signed for Bridgeport. I do think he's going to make the team play a top 6 role. At some point, maybe he starts bottom 6 and moves his way up. But for Wahlstrom, you have to have a fantastic camp. 1, to show the Islanders that they shouldn't give up on you yet. And 2, if they are going to move you, you have some kind of value. Let's say he has a preseason game where he scores 3 or 4 goals. I'm just making that up. That would increase his trade value, where teams could say, okay, another year with his ACL is better. He's skating better. He's scoring goals. This is a guy we want to trade for and take a chance on, or even through waivers too. If the Islanders can get him through waivers, could happen. The day that every team has to get cap compliant, they put people on waivers. Some guys slip through the cracks.
Somebody takes a flyer on Wahlstrom if he gets demoted. Yeah,
the Ducks go to a team where Brent Thompson had Wahlstrom for a little bit. Ross Johnson there. There's some guys there, right?
Right.
He would really have to feel like blow the Islanders away for them to say, all right, we're going to end up waiving Fashing, another guy. Because right now, he's on their NHL media site. He's on the roster, or cap-friendly. Sorry, no more cap-friendly. Puckpedia.
Right.
They have him on the NHL roster, but they're over the cap without him. So I don't think he's going to make the team, but this is for me, we always say make or break. This is it.
Yeah, and how many times have we said that?
Right.
Yeah. Next up from DTMR, with Mayfield back on the PK, it should improve. But who steps in to replace Cal?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Kyle McLean. I think he's going to take this. I think Bo Horvat might get a bigger chance on the PK. Sipikov's a guy that said he's played PK, and it's much different in the KHL. And again, we have
they take their time there.
Major question marks. But I do think McLean's proven Holmstrom could be. I mean, Holmstrom's on the PK, but I think McLean would be the guy.
I think that's a fair assessment for sure. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, I wouldn't mind, and I think you actually raised this previously, maybe seeing Matt Barzal.
I did on our last show.
Yes, that's right. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind even trying Duclair with his speed too, because speed can kill on the PK. I mean, look, they have to worry about the defensive end first before they worry about scoring goals. And you had that little outburst between Pajot and
for about
Holmstrom.
5 minutes.
Yeah. In the early going last season, which you thought was going to be a dynamic duo until they cooled off. But the good news for the Islanders, and for anybody who cares about the Islanders, is the penalty kill can only go up from here.
Upgrades.
Bottom of the league.
Points.
And you get some new blood in there at the very least with replacing Cal Clutterbuck. And whoever steps in for him is probably going to have more foot speed than he had. So that should help as well. I think you're right that McLean is the front runner. But get creative. Let's see what this coaching staff does. Let's see what Abilene does, back there. Who knows? Let's see if they have some surprises for us. But there's no doubt that the PK needs some work.
And obviously a big part of the PK is Sorokin's save percentage on the PK. I think he's one of the worst goalies in the league. That would
help as well.
And it hurt. Obviously, it's gonna hurt his stat line when he gets screened and things like that. Failed clears, but there's no question that he has to be better. And even Varlamov too, to an extent, on the PK if that wants to turn around.
Sure.
Well, speaking of Duclair and Sorokin, Trottier comes in with a bit of a hot take of a question.
Surprise.
So, no big moves, just like last summer. Duclair ain't big. And Sorokin shaky will lead to the same first-round exit if they make it. Well, do you agree?
To be fair, Sorokin, I don't think you could blame Sorokin. He didn't play well in his one playoff game or 1 period, 2 periods of his playoff game, but to make that comment, I mean, Sorokin wasn't the reason they got bounced by Carolina because he didn't play.
Right. but to Trottier's point, I don't blame him for that take. I think that is a fair take.
For sure.
I think that they're going to be in a very similar spot that they were last season. I think, you'd like to see them clinch a little sooner, not make everybody sweat
instead of 2.
Right. But listen, I think this is a prove it season. I think you got to see what Duclair can do on that top line. We got to find out what the hell Siplikov is, right?
Yep.
And we got to see how this new blood, so to speak, rounds out the bottom 6, particularly the fourth line. Now that you have Martin and Clutterbuck moving out, right? I think we have to see what's going to happen there, and everybody's, and myself included, is talking about the full camp with Wah and how exciting that is. We have to find out if that actually moves the needle. We don't know yet.
Right.
But I think that this team has the potential to be significantly better than last season. That I believe. I think Duclair has the potential to make that top line very dangerous. And if things bend right with Siplikov and he actually becomes a worthy middle six, hopefully top six guy, then all of a sudden you got some magic there, right?
Changes everything.
Yeah, and if Sorokin is closer to what we expect out of him, a lot of ifs here, but I think this team certainly, to me, looks better on paper than it did last season, but I wouldn't blame anybody for saying, you know what, they're probably going to be in a similar situation, and they might benefit from what we talked about before with other teams around them getting a little worse, and maybe that's a few extra points in the bank where, they're clinching a playoff spot, maybe a 2-3 seed or up a wild card, depending on how it goes, but I still think they're a playoff team, but I think it's completely fair not to be convinced that the Islanders are worlds better than they were last season.
Yeah, I don't think they're worlds. I think a lot of it has, like you said, Wah's system, Sorokin being better, but also another year for certain guys, health. Compton, the defense being hurt and having to go get Mike Riley, which paid off, obviously. You don't want to see people get hurt, but if someone's going to get hurt and you find someone, a diamond in the rough, if you will.
Yeah.
Mayfield being back healthy, Pelican Pulak maybe being better together, another year for Dobson and Romanov together. There's reasons to be optimistic, but yes, they're going to have to prove it.
Next up from CGS 878, do you think that the Gotham Sports Network will be a positive change for Islanders broadcasts?
Interesting question there. I don't know. Like for me, I only watch hockey, and more particularly, I really only watch Islanders hockey. So I don't really. I think you can kind of only purchase.
You could buy one, or you could buy them all as a package deal.
So I don't know. I think listen. If you're a big New York sports fan, I think it's got to be a positive thing,
and not a Met fan because SNY is not part of it.
Right. But you got a lot of teams under one roof.
Yes, is. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so you get a lot of teams under the same roof. So if you're a big New York sports fan and you're a fan of the particular teams that are in the package, then yeah, it's probably a good thing, right? But if you're somebody like me, I suppose, where you don't really care about other sports in the area, I don't know how much that benefits me, but I guess it's kind of give or take depending on your fandom, right?
I mean, it's cool. It's cool for fans that do watch all that stuff. If you're cutting the cord where everyone is for cable nowadays, and you don't care about the other CBS.
But the funny thing is,
that.
and again, I don't have the pricing model in front of me, so I'm not exactly sure how it works. But if you're getting forced to pay for the entire Gotham Sports Network, or even a majority of it, it's almost going back to the cable days where you're paying for a bunch of channels you don't care about.
Like when you you grew up with 8 channels.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes, correct.
That wasn't even a knock. I'm pretty sure.
And we had a remote control that had a wire going.
Oh, you had a control. What? You have to go to the dial.
Buddy, when I was super young, this might blow your mind,
color
but there was color. But the controller was actually a panel. And you had 10 buttons on it, and it was a wire going into the TV. That's how you change the channel.
So you couldn't lose the remote?
It wasn't even a handheld. No, you couldn't.
Wow, we need that back. Can we do that? I lose the remote every second.
It was really wonky. It was a lot. It took up a lot of space. It didn't look good.
Did you call it a remote? Because
I don't know what clicker might have been it back then. Yeah, for real. But
long time ago.
Yeah, that's
next.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe CGS. I don't know the answer.
It might be good.
Yeah.
We were talking a lot about prospects tonight, so Aisle 72 wants to know which prospect, if any, has a legitimate shot to make the team
this year.
I
Zero.
believe it would be
zero.
None of them.
Unless, like we said before, if someone is over the top, outside of Siplikov and Kincaid, obviously, but over the top, light years better, where other NHLers are slacking severely, but they're playing to be called up. And playing really to impress Kowalski on being a top 6 player in Bridgeport. Unfortunately, with the way the Islanders work, which is why Shirkov left and some other prospects left, there's no real openings for them to get an NHL chance.
Agreed.
Next up from Mr. Tom Boyle.
T. Boyle's waiting for this one.
Do you see Clutterbuck joining the Islanders coaching staff at some point?
I don't think so.
I wouldn't say coaching staff. I would say if he
Involved in something.
If he doesn't land a job elsewhere, because the word is he's still trying to land a job somewhere, right? If he doesn't, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me if he's able and willing to do it, where he gets some kind of role.
I don't think it would be player
development. Not a coach, not that quickly.
I don't think it would be player development either. I think maybe Lou consultant or something.
Yeah, something
where they
kind
call
of
it
like ease him
advisor.
into the behind the scenes sort of role. Like you see that a lot, right? Like advisor to the GM or player development.
Well, imagine he was the next GM of the Islanders. That'd be wild.
Get a little ahead of ourselves, but sure.
When we talk to Claire, by the way, no one take that and write an article about it, okay?
Stefen said he was going to be the next
I didn't say
GM.
lose out. Can we not do this again this year? Jeez. If you know, you know. So we talked to Clutterbuck at the end of last year, and it was funny because I forgot who asked the question, are you planning on retiring? He goes, well, whether I retire or not, like, I'll be around all the time to go to the gym and give Barzal shit. So Clutterbuck's, I really do think Clutterbuck's going to retire, but that's up to him to decide. I know a lot of people were asking about Martin and Clutter. Even if I did know, which I don't, this is for them to announce. This is for them to, there's no point in leaking that information. People love to get stuff out quick and beat don't do that, obviously, but I do think Clutterbuck's going to hang it up. I do think Martin's going to try to get a contract here, but whether they play or not, these are two guys that meant so much to this Islander fan base, so much to the guys in the room that they'll be around in some shape or form to help these guys, whether it be helping the young guys in Bridgeport or at rookie camp or whatever, or helping the guys in the room by just staying in touch, playing fantasy football, catching up, things like that. They're never going to not be part of this family.
Well, Ed, I think we had some Twitter questions. Maybe we can roll with one of those, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of Cal Clutterbuck and Matt Martin, this was from DSigs833 on Twitter. Was Martin hurt last year? Seems slower than ever. Didn't want to hit. Wasn't as usual. Could be quote-unquote age, yet Clutter seemed his usual, and they aren't signing him, but Martin gets a PTO. What trade will be made to sign 17 to get him under the cap? He won't go to Bridgeport, will he?
So Martin was hurt. He had 3 different injuries. One of them was...
Damn.
I want to say was oblique. I'm not certain for that, but I think it was oblique. And so there's 3 separate injuries. He obviously missed playoff games where everybody's wondering, did he play his last game? Not knowing.
Right,
You know, that's the tough pill. And Patrick Waugh said, and he used past tense, he was a great Islander. When he said that, again, that could also just be the language barrier.
Sure.
But he had 3 different injuries, which is why he was sluggish. I mean, when he had that ankle injury a couple of years ago, everyone said he was done. And he comes back and had his best year hitting-wise or close. So I think he's got a little bit left in the tank. Another guy that's got to show it, right? He's healthy, he said. He's completely healthy. He had x-rays done after the year. He went through whatever he had to go through to get healthy. He's been practicing all summer. So the reason that he got a PTO and Clutterbuck didn't is because Clutterbuck, I don't think, was going to take a PTO. Clutterbuck wanted the guaranteed contract, which of course everyone does. And I think based on the year Clutterbuck had, playing 82 games the first time in his career, having a great year. And I hate that people group these two together because they're such different players. And they're not the same player. They shouldn't be grouped together. Much different games for both of them. Yes, they've played together forever. Not the same player. So I think for Clutterbuck, it's more of, I shouldn't be getting a PTO. Like, I proved last year I could still play.
Right.
Whereas Martin knows that he had the injuries, that it was probably unlikely he was getting it. And as for clearing the cap space, this could be a favor for Martin. You know, what I don't like Compton said, I don't think Lou was lying when he said he's going to get a real shot, because I do think he is. But I think it's more or less, hey, if we're not going to sign you, at least you're going to PTO. You'll get some preseason games to show that you are healthy. Because for a young team, like the Ducks getting Johnson, right, to protect the young players, could be a similar situation. I don't think Martin does leave Long Island, but that'll be up to him if he wants to continue his career. As for Bridgeport, I can't see him going to Bridgeport riding the bus. We had Hickey on last year.
Right.
And, he said that was tough. Like, you're going from, not that obviously they live luxurious lifestyles where you're on the plane and things like that. It's very tough to then go and be only by bus. So I don't think Martin, I don't think he should do that. Like, he deserves better, quote unquote, than that. But yeah, I think if he doesn't make the team out of camp, he might take a year off. He could do what Parise did and wait halfway through the year until there's an injury, signing, whatnot. But yeah, I don't think it's a situation where he's playing for Bridgeport.
All right, well, that's going to do it for Questions Brewing. Appreciate.
Minus points.
I am negative 1,000 tonight, that's for sure. But appreciate all you guys hanging out with us, tuning in, and getting your questions. And if we didn't get to you tonight, hopefully we'll get to you next show. And with that, Ed, cue that music. All right, I want to send a big thanks out to Brian Compton of NHL.com for hanging out with us, giving us a great spot there on the line. And, of course, a huge thanks to our wonderful sponsors, starting with Main Street Board Game Cafe, located at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village. Find out how to unplug your game at mainstboardgamecafe.com. Also, a big thanks to Center Station Bar and Grill. Head on down to 279A Sunrise Highway for Isles games, live music, karaoke, comedy shows, and more. And of course, a big thanks to Floored Media right here in Rockville Center. Bring your creative dreams to life at state-of-the-art production studio right here in Rockville Center, Long Island. That's Floored Media. And folks, we got a lot more fun coming for you here at Hockey Night New York. We talked about it before. We brought on more staff, more team. We got some writers coming in like Dylan here. We got a social media team coming in for more interaction there. We got some stuff working in the behind the scenes right now that we're going to release a little bit later on. But a lot of fun here at Hockey Night New York. Looks like we're going to wait until we kick things off officially Sunday, October 6th. That's when we go full throttle on the season. If there's any big news, maybe that changes, but that's more or less going to be the plan. So make sure to rate, review, subscribe if you haven't already. Definitely subscribe on YouTube. We're kind of shifting focus there a little bit. All of our archive shows will be there for you to watch if you can't catch us live. So for Stefen, for Jake the Snake, for Edzo, for Jay, for Dylan on the couch, my name is Sean Cuthbert. We've been Hockey Night New York. We will see you next time.